So, all right, so if that's what it is,
I will say Turkey Creek needs more of this. I agree with you.
they should combine with Innsbrook personally, my opinion. Anyways, that's just a flooding issue.
Okay.
So we have Centennial Park update.
Right.
No, I just want to give you a brief update on Centennial Park Clubhouse. I've been trying to keep you guys updated via email. A lot of this is some of the things I sent you already, but it's definitely a fluid situation. We're trying to continue to figure out a way to continue golf operations without being able to be in the building. We're meeting later this week at the staff level with the attorneys involved and the structural engineer to figure out, even though at the last council session, the first thing that we said was if we cannot continue insurance, we can't continue to operate. Well, when that answer finally came back to us last week was what triggered this most recent decision to stop all of the events and everything there. So I think that I get, and we've been keeping the general public out of the building ever since. Staff has had to go into the building for various things. Still need to go in there and do some other things, clean up, get food out of there, and things like that still. And I'm hoping that through our workman's comp, we have coverage, obviously as employees. So same with Indigo for their employees. So if we were to trip and fall, that, we're covered that way. It's the coverage for the general public that I think we want to stop. So we're meeting Thursday is a Zoom call with some of the attorneys involved that were at the council meeting. But this is kind of just wanted to
The same company, workers' comp and liability.
I don't believe so. I don't believe
Have
so.
we checked with workers' comp if they cover it?
I don't know.
I thought we were self-insured.
that.
We were self-insured.
I'm not sure if the
Is there a
workers'
third party
comp is
administrator?
self-insured.
I don't know.
I'll bring that up though when we talk about it. That's something we need to have that discussion about. But other than that, I mean, just kind of, this past weekend, we were able to accommodate all their events, move them elsewhere. We had 2 go to the social center. One went to this Avenue 912 at Klein and Raging Griffith and like the old service merchandise over there. There's another big wedding this coming weekend. They were able to move the Center for Performing Arts across the street. So really the big events we were able to get all moved. So that I think was a win for us from that perspective. We did end up put a porta potty up by the entrance to the golf course because normally at this time of year we remove them, the one that's on the course, and but now since no one can come to the building, we needed to have something out there for golfers to be able to use. So we have that added again. We are looking about a temporary trailer, if you will, mobile office for the pro shop as a sales spot for the golf course. We're looking at placing this just to the east of the golf shanty, between the driving range and the entrance to the golf course, just east of that building, because we can pull power from that building that's up there by the driving range. So that's a big plus. We're still exploring a lot of things. Kevin's been a huge help. We've been going out there. We met with Midwest Electric out there as a potential yesterday. We're still talking to some trailer companies about getting something that will work for us. And unfortunately, in my mind, I think this is going to be an extended period of time that we need to find something there. So I'm picturing the kind of trailer that you might see at when a subdivision is being brand new. The first thing they put in that subdivision as a sales office. That's almost the kind of trailer that I'm looking at. It's not real small, but big enough that we can have check-in for golfers, potentially still sell the drinks, the coolers and so forth, and have a heated and cooled facility so we can operate the golf course as
Where are we
close to
gonna
normal.
put it?
Between that, right next to that golf shanty. So when you walk up that hill and you're at the ball machine, you would turn right to go to your driving range. It would be right to the left, past that building, going towards the first hole.
Which is where it should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, crazy idea, but why don't we look at making that permanent?
Yeah.
I mean, in theory, if this year's done, next year's for sure not, they're not gonna have this thing all by next year. You talk to the attorneys, they're not gonna have a case forever. for at least a year and a half.
And it's been pending for 3 years, so what have they been doing?
And what are we building? What's how much space is our pro shop taking up in the clubhouse? Was it 1,000 square feet roughly?
Not even.
Probably not even with the couple of little offices,
That's
it's just one
generous.
little
Yeah.
office right now.
I'm just,
They don't
small.
sell anything with walls and gas.
Yeah.
Right,
You know?
right.
so why don't we just correct the problem that we all agree that are golfers? And that is, you build it permanently at that location. You can have your, whatever, your ranger guy or person, and you can look at the driving range so no one's sneaking up there. And then when this thing gets rebuilt in 5 years from now, you can make it more space. I mean, it's just a small brick building. It's like a concession stand, really, that we have at the park. You have power there, at least that's what Midwestern said. You throw a hot dog roller thing in there and you call it what it is. It's your halfway house.
I think it's a great idea. I think we ought to have.
We have the
a good
funds.
engineer tell us whether we should build it or not.
I don't think there's much of a load on that. I mean,
Well, I think that's the challenge is obviously that's on the hill. So surely what's underneath there is the same stuff that's underneath most of that hill.
but
So-
you're not talking about
That's
It's
just
a slab.
You're talking a slab.
yeah, I mean, the problem is still gonna be the golf carts. We understand that.
Right.
But as far as long-term, I think, from being a golfing perspective, that's where it should have been. And I think when, what's his name was there? Matt said it was difficult to run up the hill to look at people sneaking people, you never know what they could do.
I think the general public's gonna say, what the hell, heck, are
You
they
can say
building
no.
that on there, and then we're gonna have to answer that, so that engineer better be solid.
I don't think it's much of a building though.
Well, I don't know, I'm not an engineer.
I think we should have someone engineer look at, see if it's possible.
It's closer to the dome, because where it is now supposedly it's not with the car.
Right, that's what
This area is probably.
I always thought the issue was the slag at the dump. Like there's
So
not
can you-
trash
Can you
underneath.
put a slab only on there, and that probably would shift too, I don't know anything about it. Even if you just put a
You
slab.
look at like Harborside and
Yeah.
115th Street, I mean, that was on the same.
Yeah,
same
right.
idea. And as far as I understand, they haven't had any issues like this. I mean, I think it's doable. It's just a matter, and I agree with you. I think it's the perfect opportune place where they could better see everything that's going on and manage the facility better by doing that.
You engineer it over the winter, you build it in the spring, that way you don't have a trailer. I mean, not that nothing's against the trailer, because I was there when Lost Marsh had a trailer for several years. But it's just long-term, this is what it needs to be. You're gonna rent a trailer, and then it's like,
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea, but I do think you have to keep in mind what Ron just said about optics and what you're building and the amount of money we spend on that. Just knowing two things that where it's at, and then two, that how much money we're losing with no longer being able to use the fake design. So I just agree with that statement.
I understand the optics, I get it, I'm just saying there almost could be optics that we're gonna have a trailer up there for 3 years, sure. No, when you retire, they're gonna name that trailer after you, that's what you're gonna get. It's movable.
I can't even go in there now to take my name off.
The best round.
Oh, no.
You know, and-
I
and
mean,
the-
still, it's just like, this is like a bad dream. I can't believe that we're gonna have Aldi too, sitting at Centennial Park,
Yeah.
or Ultra too, the Andy Hardware store that just sits there. I mean, it's just. I digress.
This is
That's okay, I
just-
had my meeting last night.
I'm just gonna share some pictures. This is the kind of trailer right now
Oh, okay.
of what, at least somebody we reached out to, that this is something that's available at, and obviously it's used. It's the kind of facility I described earlier, but it is something that we could actually purchase that, because I think we got some initial pricing. Kevin called around to get rental prices. We're looking at probably dropping $600-700 a month to rent a facility. And of course, in the operations of our department, it's always been easier to find bond money to do a purchase. we can purchase that used trailer for about 35,000. By the time they bring it here, set it up and move it and jack it up, it's probably about a little over 50,000 to them. And then there's some other things that we would have to prep to do ahead of time. We need to dig out some of the dirt in that area, put in compacted stone to make sure that it holds it the whole time that we're there. But just as also from that same company, I got other pricing for various trailers, the same size, brand new trailer, which is, it's a 24 by 60 foot double wide trailer, if you will, or mobile office. If we bought a brand new one, they sell it for 112,000. That one used at 35, call it 50 by the time you move it here, even if you put money into it to fix things up.
We're not going to have, I know it should have been built up there and with this garbage underneath.
And one of the reasons it may not.
Right, but the thing is, we're not gonna be using too much of that parking over there, because we're not gonna have facilities, I mean, vehicles. Can't they put it right by the steps, by something right there in the parking lot? And would solidify it better?
It's getting power to it is the difficulty. We would have to trench from from the clubhouse building, which if that's gonna eventually go away,
They don't do
well,
that.
here's the problem. Actually, even the building that's up there on the hill,
Yeah.
their electric actually does go to the clubhouse. So if the clubhouse ever does come down, there are a lot of issues that have to be shored up ahead of time. We have mainly power that half the lights in that park are controlled inside that building. Half the irrigation pump power comes from that building. The power up to that shed comes from that building. So I mean, there's gonna be changes before.
You may have to have some prep.
Oh,
And
yeah, a
There,
lot,
is
a
it,
lot.
would it be cheaper just to run the electric down to where that parking lot is, and then you have something that's been there for a long time, it's settled, you put it on some parking lot, because you're not gonna be using those parking spaces.
Yeah, I don't know how close you want to put it. You're not saying all the way like to the front of the building, right? You're saying.
I'm talking, when you come
The
down those
highest
stairs, right?
I think you want to stay away from that. I mean, even if, let's say they.
No, not the building itself, I'm talking closer to the.
To the course, okay, so that highest tier. of
Way,
parking.
the highest
Okay,
tier,
yeah.
the highest tier up there.
One of the challenges is that parking lot is angled. Can they do it? Yeah, they can. They can jack it up, but again, to get power to it, we'd have to be trenching and cutting through asphalt to get to it, because it very likely would come from that same building. Even if we did a temporary, immediate trailer tomorrow out there.
Because that would be a less of an optic that I was talking about earlier. It's on a parking there.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, what the heck are they building up on that dump now?
Another,
Yeah, but I don't know that that's gonna make a difference. That location, I mean, and if you're gambling on something looking bad, you might as well do it right to begin with and put it up,
You're gonna go up and down those stairs.
You do it right the
You
first
do it
time.
right the first time, and then that's a compromise, I think, that would.
From a golfing perspective, any golfer would say, that makes sense. The people that walk by go, what the hell, they building a building, even though this was collapsing, they're not gonna understand it, but from a golfer, and Indigo's here, they'll understand it, it's probably for logistical purposes, you can manage the ins and the outs. Right now, you can't. I mean, someone could go through and shoot 36 holes, and you wouldn't know, unless they came out of the pro shop. You wouldn't know. Sorry, I had to take that phone call.
I did email Jill with SEH, actually just this morning, asking her that same thing, could we build something there? What would we have to do to see if she can give us some direction there? If we want to look out and maybe engage someone down the road to design something like that, I mean, I can start that conversation there. Another, I guess, off the wall idea would be to build this, if there's a concern about building it on the hill at all, would be to build, you would have to rearrange the holes, order of the holes, but you could potentially move a pro shop. You'd have to add a parking lot in Cobblestone's Park. You can make that your entrance to the golf somehow. But I mean, if you wanted to get away from being on the hill, if that's an issue. Just as an off the wall idea that has been thrown around there, but
we don't have a lot of people that show up at our meetings.
yeah.
Then we can charge for parking there, cobblestone.
But obviously, there is still litigation out there for this whole situation. I think you guys are all aware of that. I just kind of wanted to give you a little bit of a summary here. I just typed up, like I said, some of the notes there. If something comes up in the meantime before a next meeting, feel free to reach out to me and I can try and answer questions, keep you up to date.
Well, one other thing is, what about the carts? I mean, what are we?
The
gonna
carts
do?
is a big issue because they're electric. They're plugged in inside. Basically, the impression is that I've given to them based on the input that we've had from Dustin and the direction we have was, if we take them out, we keep them out. So right now, they are still in the building. We're trying to look into, we don't think it's worthwhile enough to get rent gas carts. We're going to explore the opportunity if Indigo has, do they have other courses that they can borrow gas carts from? Courses that close. We do try to keep our course open throughout the year. You know, we get that 60-degree day in February, we're open. We get that,
Next week's supposed to be.
Yeah, this coming weekend.
Really? High 50s.
yeah.
Really? Oh, yes.
We're trying so right now, we've been walking only since this has come down. It's been walking only, which there's a few because we have the challenge of people pay for a membership for carts out there. So now they're like, wait a minute, you know, you're not living up to your end of the bargain that way either. So we're trying to figure out a way to do that. But you're also right from the standpoint of, okay, if we build a whole new building, we need to build it big enough to house 35 carts. You know, to have
Well,
the
I
space.
mean,
I don't agree with that one, but
Well, but I mean, the carts have to be covered, whether they're gas or electric, they need to be covered. Now, do they have to be inside a building if they're not?
Electric,
If they're gas?
you'd have to pull all the batteries and cover them and pull the batteries out if you're gonna leave them outside.
But even a gas cart really should have a roof over it, at least some
Some tarp or something, yeah.
So I mean, then there's a question of where would we put it?
Right.
Even if there was a cover.
And it's a sizable to house that for 35 carts is a lot.
you can room in your garage.
Not really.
That one car you could sit outside.
Yeah, but that one you got drove today, you put that outside.
But that's something we're trying to look at all of our options there. I mean, one of the comments was, you know, and Andrews can tell you from some of their experience, the other golf courses, gas carts can be stored outside, electric typically are inside. You know, they will do that. So.
Yeah, no, I understand, but I think the elements too. yes,
Yeah.
They should be covered.
Right. Even if it's just a carport type.
Yeah, right, carports, but I was.
So the only thing that's in that basement over there at the building now is the golf carts.
Everything on the other side is, no, there's still a lot of stuff on that other side still. There's the fencing that we put up for like the beer gardens is all still inside of there. There's lots of white chairs still inside of there. We're actually looking to buy maybe an enclosed trailer to just to take a bunch of the white chairs and put it inside of it, so we have the flexibility to move and drive them around the park where we need to, and then unload them if we have weddings in the gardens or on the stage or even at, you know, some other park. So there's still a lot of, basically everything's in the building as it is. I mean, there's still food and fridges. I mean, we want to get in there, you know,
Yeah.
get that stuff out, turn the fridges off. I mean, decrease the NIPSCO bills. That's it.
Right.
We're gonna have to keep heat in the building, right? I mean, until they tell us we cannot salvage this building. Well, you know, pest control, we're gonna have to keep servicing it, I imagine. So I mean, there's things like that have to, you know, happen here until, you know, the definite direction is said, if it's gonna go away or whatever happens. So.
But you're glad you took this job.
Well, I guess so. The bottom line is what are we waiting for to decide what we're gonna do?
I think that it's from the structural engineer. I think it was asked at that last group meeting that we had at that of, is there a way to save it? And I don't know if they definitely answered that. And, you know, is there a repair to keep what we already have? I think if that is possible, I think the thought, but again, I think that maybe there is one, but it may outweigh the cost of
I think
completely
that,
brand new.
I think that's what I heard during the meeting. I don't know
Right.
who was all there, you were there, was that the thought was that if someone suggested, well, let's try to brace it so that in case we find a
cheaper
fix.
to take it down.
They said it's cheaper to take it down and build it up than to try to retrofit it.
Yes, they did say that.
And when that was said, it was sort of, you sort of start with what you got.
So,
That's why.
I
that's
think
why-
it's going down, but with that meeting I was at.
And again, I mean, there's, you know, at that point, I guess there's, you know, two trains of thought there. Does the town, someone made the comment of not wanting to pay for it twice as the taxpayer. You know, I think that's where you're waiting for results from the litigation. That could be drawn out for years, though. You know, how long do we wait before the town decides collectively what's the best solution, what's the best answer here? I think the other thing that we need to look at too is, are we gonna have to close down more than the footprint of the building? Because walking on the north side of that building is, you're underneath it.
Right there.
So, you know, we may have to close and it's not gonna be pretty, I hate to say it, I don't think, you know, to really keep people out and put up basically no trespassing past this point or something there. Probably from the building to the water. Yeah.
So you all the way to the water, you think, so you can't
Well,
even do that lower?
I mean, if you don't, I mean, I guess you could fence it somehow all the way around and leave some portion of it there, but, you know, basically it's on the hill. If it goes anyway, it's gonna go that way. I'd have to imagine, that's just correct.
maybe we ought to just make it garbage.
Probably people will park there and they'll pay to park to see it.
This is just like a no-win situation. I'm telling you.
Perfect.
I don't get it. I mean, I just don't. I'm not listening to it. Litigation, lawyers are gonna make a lot of money off it, but it's not gonna pay for tearing the building down and rebuilding it. Just my,
So some of those things will shake out as we move forward, but I just wanted to kind of give you that update and hear from you guys, your perspective of you know, from your positions on this, so.
I would do whatever we can to make golf continue, you know, so.
But golf has to continue. We have, I mean, I don't think we can even just close the golf, you know, and I don't know one's suggesting this, but I mean, if you close the course, you still gotta go out there and make sure trees don't start growing and rooting through the liner that's in the system, so. golf
Those are
is
rounds.
needed.
Rounds are up probably.
I don't
It's
know.
actually a little lower than last year. Last year was just a phenomenal year
Yeah.
with COVID, but we still, through the end of October, we've done over 18,000 rounds. Good.
I will add, just because with Andrew being here and he was excited a couple weeks ago, saying, Mark, I'm gonna cut you guys the first time check back for this until all these refunds just went out. Now very likely, actually 100% for sure, they are going to be coming and asking for support at some point here next, you know, one of the next meetings, just to get through the rest of this. I mean, basically they're eating up all the cash flow that they had to have to issue out. I mean, the first round of refunds was almost 60,000, plus we had the last few here, the last third, these that just got canceled, which were the next up till November 20th. So there's some refunds going out that way as well. But
Are we making money off of golf?
the golf by itself exclusively, I think we would be breaking even at least,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Right.
Breaking even,
at least breaking even.
yeah, but that, so if we have to change yards and build, so are we talking about losing money?
Well, I think if you look back to the initial construction of the building, I mean, you lost money, you never
Well,
recouped
yeah, I
the
know
initial
the building.
construction.
Yeah, but I'm
And we
talking
wouldn't, I
about-
don't think we'd recoup any new construction of the building and the incorporating the purchase of brand new carts and all the equipment into there, I think, yeah, you probably, it probably is not a profitable venture. Would be my
Which is another
expectation.
thing to consider when we're evaluating this whole situation is the contractual obligations that we have with Indigo as well. So we can't let that drag out for 5 years. That's just not gonna work.
That's why I don't care about the optics at this point. It's just gonna be,
How to make it work.
because that's what you have to worry about now is the golf course. Let the attorneys And the structural engineers deal with that, even though
Well,
it's,
they've been dealing with it for over 3 years.
I
was just gonna
We're-
say,
we're
it's
in a
been so
big
long,
loss with that.
but I think
should
it's
be-
just, I think it's just picked up the pace though. I think everything is just accelerated
Oh, okay, well,
exponentially. I agree with you.
That's nice.
If they haven't come to a resolution at this point, then
Well,
they never will.
I mean, I've got two attorneys here sitting there. You understand the whole
No, I
discovery
don't. I would not
process.
drag my feet on this. If I was a plaintiff, I would have been moving that case along. You would not be 3 years down the road saying,
There you go.
we don't know where we are. That is total BS, and I'm telling you, in my opinion,
I love
the
it.
town got sandbagged by them, and I don't know how much they paid them, but I'm sure it's a lot. The lawyers.
Oh, I don't know.
You,
who's-
a case like this, if you're the plaintiff, you're pushing it all the time. You're not letting the other side dictate and dragging their feet. That's 3 years and you're nowhere is
But it's
ridiculous.
half that time, Dave, and I'm not defending anybody here. It's COVID. You know how the courts slow down during COVID.
Yeah, okay,
Okay, but I mean, you have to consider that as a
Yeah.
factor. I'm not saying
I know.
you're wrong.
I don't
would
want
be pushing it,
all right,
but
yeah, okay. I mean, okay, that's.
Regardless of what's happening, it has to be pushed today.
No, I know, I
Yeah.
agree. That's why I don't care so much about the optics, about the building on the hill, that it should have been done the right way the first way. That's whatever. We just do it. And we're not paying for trailers and temporary stuff. And even if we have to build storage on the backside of it to store little things, never to be big enough for carts.
Right.
Just, we're gonna have to figure that out later, but for chairs and for stuff, we can build a little storage on it. It's not a big shed.
Sheds, you can put a shed,
Yeah.
a big shed, store chairs.
Some security, I call
We
it.
need to start a GoFundMe page too.
All right.
All right, let's,
I'll be the first
we
one.
can beat this horse until it is. dead. This is okay, so let's move on to our facility. Yeah, park facility usage 2020.
Yeah, you have a memo from me and an attachment, a second page of facility pricing update for 2022. A lot of these are items that are going to be coming back into our office now to maintain. With the changeover there, the clubhouse going away there, special events coordinator there will be going away. So, and that's who housed the reservations for all the shelters, the weddings and the gardens and events in park stage and so forth. So we did go through, I also went through and tried to make a consistent ratio on our rates. So typically a resident rate is X, a non-resident again is at X plus 50%. So consistently all the way through all of our shelters. I did have a change. Some of our smallest ones, we've actually had fees for Briar Creek, Burlwood, Sunnyside, Twin Creeks. Those are literally like one table under shelter. Those are, I'm recommending you just pull those out. You don't exceed your 15 people per ordinance. So, you know, that part of it is out. We have a group of them that are all about the same: Beach, Bluebird, Cobblestone, Grove, Stewart, Franklin, Westlake shelters. They're basically all about the same size. So we, you know, those are all positioned at that same, the same rates there for us. We have nonprofit rates, which are during the weeks for 4 hours, Monday through Thursdays. And then we have weekday rates for 4 hours. We have weekend rates for 4 hours, or all day rates on both the weekdays as well as the weekends there. So various different types of ones, and maybe just trying to make it as consistent as we can for ourselves, but also picking up the wedding packages out of Centennial, making those consistent with what we have at Heritage Park, and also then some of the larger shelters, putting a lot of those very, you know, making sure that, you know, one that is a smaller capacity isn't a higher priced facility than one that has that lower capacity out there for us. So bringing this to you, the hope is we did actually just open up yesterday our shelter rentals for the coming year. But again, these would go in based upon your approval. We would put this into play as of January 2nd when we reopen up. But we can advertise these in the winter brochure, which will be mailed home in December then with those new prices.
Quick, silly question. Do people really look like, say, the Frank Hammond Pavilion? And they come in to talk to you, or Beach Park?
Not
Because I know they use it, I'm just saying, I know we don't have the people to police it, I'm just asking because it's realistically impossible. Yeah, I mean, I see it all the time, but I just.
We do get some, it's not a ton,
It's mostly community.
it's probably about 6 per year. You know, the biggest ones, no doubt, are the community park and White Oak. Those are the biggest, but again, they're also the biggest shelters that we have. The next closest besides Frank Hammond is Grove, that are the busiest ones that are used. But you're right, it's not a huge amount.
We don't have the people, but anyway. I'll approve the rate adjustment. Move.
Second.
What did I say?
You approved it. We don't
I
have to
mean,
vote.
I'll
We don't have
approve
that
it.
story.
We don't have to vote that.
You guys are done. You guys can stay home today.
Was there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry.
The booths, is there something we should do differently?
It'll also
No, we
be-
approved it so we can go ahead and advertise it in the brochure, but ultimately it'll come with the resolution and
Okay.
Schedule
When
A.
we do that Schedule A, probably in December, that'll also be in there. with
These will be
CPC.
reflected.
But I
in
wanted,
there.
by seeking your approval of today, we can get it into the brochure, which we're typesetting now.
Okay.
Which will go to printers, so.
So there's been a recommendation which has been moved to be accepted and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. That will put us at the end of the.
I will just, obviously, I think it's obvious, but any meetings that were planned to be on at September will now be here.
Actually, I started driving next day and it turned out to be bad.
Motion to
Really?
adjourn. Second.
I did,
All in
yeah.
favor?
I was
Aye.
I was on the phone and I was driving and it's happened.
I went there, like I said, to see